I think it's just going to get weirder and weirder and weirder, and finally it's going to be so weird that people are going to have to talk about how weird it is. Eventually people are going to say, what the hell is going on? It's not enough to say it's nuts. You have to explain why it's so nuts. The invention of artificial life, the cloning of human beings, possible contact with extraterrestrials, the systems which are in place to keep the world sane are utterly inadequate to the forces that have been unleashed.
Welcome back to Forbidden Knowledge News. I'm your host, Chris Matthew. Today my guests are Tamera, Sheville, and Brandon Thomas. I am excited to announce that Forbidden Knowledge News is now syndicated on clearair.fm, available every Tuesday, Thursday, and Saturday at 12:15 p.m. Central Time. That's on clearair.fm. The link is right in the description. Check out my films. Occult Louisiana is on Tubi. Doors of Perception is on Amazon Prime. We are booking guests for April and May. If you have suggestions or you'd like to be a guest, email me, forbiddenknowledgenews@gmail.com. Today I want to welcome Tamera, Sheville, and Brandon Thomas. Tamera is an author and researcher with a background in hazardous materials, fire and EMS, heavy and tactical rescue, and an entire page of credentials, including a member of the first civilian chemical bioterrorism response team. Brandon Thomas is co-host of Mysterious Universe podcast and founder of Rediginal Publishing. Tamera, Brandon, welcome. How y'all doing?
Amazing.
Excellent. Thank you so much, Chris.
It's amazing to have you guys. Brandon, when I spoke with you earlier to figure out the discussion today, you suggesting having Tam on to share her research into the nuclear hoax conspiracy. Of course, I said, hell yeah. Although I have heard a few other podcasts, maybe some researchers talk about this topic. I've never studied it myself or done an episode about it. So this is a forbidden first. I really love those. And there's a lot to get to from what I understand, but we like to get brief introductions before we get into this. Of course, Brandon, you've been on before. So let's start with Tam. Tam, tell us a little bit about yourself and let the audience know how they can find out more.
I'm Tamera Sheville, and my background is in hazardous materials. So I started in the fire department and took hazmat classes, went to National Fire Academy, more classes, chemistry of hazardous materials, totally all in, both feet. Big obsession. Got onto a team where we did the Nunn-Lugar Domenici Act, where we train the 120 most populated cities in the country for chemical and biological tabletop and functional exercises, full scale, bring out all the units, everything, full response, decon,
Wow.
everything. So that was huge. That was a huge, great experience. Just really a lot of fun. I learned a lot. I was recommended to be on the Metropolitan Medical Strike Team, which is the first civilian chemical and biological terrorism response team. And that was DC, Maryland, Northern Virginia. And it was fire, law enforcement, EMS, hazmat, public health, public works, doctors, nurses. It was everybody coming together. And we actually staged under the Capitol. So for the Clinton's second inauguration and George W. Bush's first inauguration. So when they say there are tunnels under there are tunnels under there. I've been there, I've seen them. We worked with United States Army's Technical Escort Unit, TEU, and we worked with the Marines CBRF, Chemical Biological Incident Response Force. And we did a lot of training, extensive specialized trainings with the military, with detection and monitoring equipment. Yeah, full turnout gear, level C, level A. We did incredibly, and that's my sense of humor is sitting on the couch in a level A reading the Sunday funnies. So that's my, so if you understand where I'm coming from. And it's not to make light of hazardous materials situations. Those are extremely dangerous. So my little disclaimer is I'm not belittling that at all. My concern was that my whole life was wrapped up in protecting responders from nuclear and radiological, chemical and biological, explosive events, anything terrorism related. So I was appointed to the NFPA, the National Fire Protection Association, the NFPA Hazmat Committee, and I rewrote, I wrote and reviewed, revised the codes and standards for response to terrorism incidents. So my background is legit. I had a secret clearance for Department of Defense. I had a top secret for DOJ. And then when I worked at Nevada Test Site for Department of Energy, I had a Q clearance. So the background for that is intensive. So the investigating that they do for that. So it's kind of just to give you some credibility. Yeah.
Didn't they ask people you went to second grade about you?
I did. My friend Karen, second grade, they went back, found her, talked to teachers. They talked, I mean, they really turned, and no stone unturned. And it was really intense. So to get that level of clearance, it does hopefully prove some legitimacy on my part, some credibility.
Oh, hell yeah. I am all here for this. Can't wait to get into it. Before we do, Brandon, briefly introduce yourself. Let the audience know how they can find more of your sexy self.
Yeah, we'll do that. Hi, I'm Brandon, everybody. Y'all know me, and I love you all, and we love it. Just so good to see you. Chris, thanks for doing this, man. This is a banger chat right here.
Yeah.
You're a superstar. Thank you. So I will go ahead and plug the 2 books we have from other authors, actually. Eric Hollerbach's Girls and the Demon's Deal. Check that out by Rediginal Publishing. And then, of course, The Eternal Avatar, Philip Kinsella and Christian Mays, with the foreword from Josh Cutchin, who we all know and adore. Artwork by Curtis Sopel on these, and just a phenomenal job. Amazon and Barnes & Noble for those guys. Check them out. Also mysteriousniverse.org, because I don't know if you've heard the news yet, but we're not doing expanding anymore. We've expanded our reality into a new mysterious universe, literally. So phase 3 of this thing, the guys retired. We're in, so mysteriousniverse.org. Check out all the cool shit. And you can get Inescapable, which is their new show, Ben and Aaron, up through April 14th for the same value exchange of 1 membership. So you get both bonuses. We do a ton of extra content. The free show is nothing compared to all the extra stuff we do.
Banger.
We do at least 2 more shows in that week. So love you guys all. And Chris, thank you again for having us on and having Tam do this. And Tam, thank you so much for putting this work out. Because another thing I'd like to point out here is that this is what she was a part of in 120 cities. She marched down city streets looking like this, led teams of folks who believed what they were doing were legit. And the psychological implication of this is the whole point to it. So as we go through this, it's really, and Tam's going to point it out, a nuke of the mind, a nuke of the family. And that's what this entails. You're going to learn a lot about mushroom clouds, things you didn't even thought you knew about mushroom clouds. Now you're going to watch movies and go, bullshit. Even movies are based on these nuclear narratives. Now Mary and I cannot enjoy because we know it's horseshit.
My favorite thing is that nuclear football carrying around the suitcase, and we're like, give me a break.
Yeah, we're like, okay, well, if nukes aren't a thing, what's in that suitcase? We joke that it's crackers, like in Seinfeld. It's just snacks for when you get hangry. It's just like board games or Monopoly or a yo-yo, just one cool yo-yo inside that thing, and they take it out and distract it. The little plastic keys they give to kids. That's what it is. That's what's in it. So it's removing the fear of this shit, and that's the whole point. And it's not to say that people didn't die in faking this, in saying that folks were not unalived due to this elaborate scheme of portraying this massive narrative. But what Tam's done a phenomenal job at. She cites many other sources in her work, guys, but I cannot state her work enough. It breaks it down. I've got all these little tabs in here. I've been going through it like crazy. The way that she breaks this down with all the images. She's got so much personality in her writing. She has a golf ball analogy for nuclear fusion and fruit that break it down. You don't need to be a scientist to look at it and go, well, that's bullshit. And it's like, yeah, I know. You don't need to be talked down to see
they always
that
have
you
these
are
big
intelligent enough.
mathematical equations, and they've got a chalkboard full of all this stuff, and you're just like, I'll never get this. I'll never understand it. But it's yeah.
And you're right, because it doesn't make sense the way they say it. And that's the best part, is when you do try to make sense of what they're talking about, it doesn't make sense. And this is what we're going to talk about. And Tam's done a phenomenal job of taking all the crazy stuff. And as Joe said, he put it to the retard 3rd grade crayon box level that we can all enjoy and benefit from.
Well, Tam, I am ready for this. Maybe to start out with, you could give a brief synopsis of what we're going to be discussing today.
And Tim, if you've got any PDFs or anything that you want to share from the work, Chris, is
you
that
are
cool?
shareable, yes.
Yeah, so audio only audience, check out the link down there for the video version. Go check out your favorite show here and support him. And there's going to be some visuals associated with this, so definitely check it out. It's going to be helpful.
Okay, that's a great idea. Yeah, starting with I did the book as to what was the most convincing to me. So I'm trying to get away from a lot of people said, the cameras and they shook and how come they weren't destroyed and the film wasn't destroyed. So yes, there's a lot of information out there. Eric Dubay, Crow 777. There's so many
Yeah,
Got my
Thoth
point.
Judge. You go through a bunch in your book.
Goss
You list
Judge.
a ton of
Yeah,
sources.
Dr. Michael Palmer was on Crow 777, and Catalyst Jones with his White Rabbit podcast that he's got it running on, nukes are a hoax. And David Weiss was the first one I heard who said that nukes are, and for me, it was a gut punch. My whole life, what I ended my career was as a curriculum coordinator at the Department of Justice. So I was responsible for the training, chemical live agent training, biological warfare agents, radiological and nuclear at the test site, explosives training, New Mexico Tech, real, like when the Oklahoma City bombing, when they had the ammonium nitrate fuel, we actually did real explosives on the ground, week-long classes for emergency responders. So to think that my entire life was just what a, not a waste, but wow, just what a lie. And everything that I had learned, everything I had made sure that ensuring the credibility and the quality of the information that was being taught to the emergency responders, those were my people. Those were that I felt so beholden to them. They're the ones who are going to be rushing in when everyone's rushing out. So these are the heroes. These guys, I wanted to make sure they were the best protected with any information I had, all the training we could, best possible training we could get, best equipment we could get. So coming from that point of view, to find out through the Galen Windsor, who was a security officer. He was the head of security for nuclear facilities and nuclear power plants, and he would go swimming in the pool. I always mess this up, Brandon. It's the
No, you're good.
in
The fuel rods. Do you want to pull that page up on the PDF and
yes,
we can
that's a
share the
great
screen?
idea. Yes,
And then
that's
you
a
can
great idea.
you can
Thank
see a
you.
picture of what this stud looked like, man. Now, when she pulls this up, you are going to be like, dude, save some pussy for the rest of us, okay, Galen? But he's a stud, and he's just handing plutonium to his face hole.
Yeah,
And he swam around in this stuff in the spent fuel rods, and just proved that they would clean this stuff out. He claimed that they cleaned it out with no protective gear whatsoever.
Oh yeah,
And
no gloves, anything, and they were just walking around. He would have a glass of plutonium, water on his desk. He would drink it, and he would swim in the reactor pools.
yeah,
I
doing
mean, he was a
backstrokes in there,
safety officer,
dude.
yeah. So no one was going to stop him, and he lived to, what was he, 93? He was just to ripe old age. He would take these little pieces of uranium and plutonium, the metal. It's a metal, and he would use a little Geiger counter, the crackling Geiger counter, and he would get a hit, and he would put it behind his back, and it would go away. It would go silent. So it just shows that even just a person blocking, they talk about, the alpha, beta, the gamma ray, alpha can be stopped by paper, gamma ray goes through. Everything is so frightening, right? Growing up, I was just so scared of this. There was a movie that came out, Jason Robards was in it. It was The Day After. I think it was a 2-part series. And I couldn't sleep for weeks. Nightmares, and I thought the whole East Coast was just going to be obliterated. And just the fear that what was it? Fear it's acceptance without evidence.
Yeah,
I like
false
that. I heard that.
evidence appearing real. Yep.
Yeah, FEAR, false evidence appearing real also. Yeah. But when you accept it without evidence, people are just like, oh no, nukes are real, they're scary. And me, I mean, of all people, I bought into it, hook, line, and sinker, and I was just, oh, it's so awful. So I think that's why this is so important to me. And thank you, Brandon, because it's hard for me to be on camera saying this, doing the research. I love that, and putting out the books. I love that, but to actually be out and talking about it, I think it's so important that the fear be explained and dissolved and dissipated and taken away, because when people realize that threat, when that goes away, you're less controllable. You're less reacting from a place of fear. You're more responding out of knowledge and information instead of, well, I was told, or I saw a movie, or they say it's scary and I'm supposed to believe that. And the Galen Windsor is one of the best, because he went around 77 cities for about 2 years. And they did videotape it, and they did televise one of them. And so that's where we get some of these shots of him doing these demonstrations, but he was trying to dispel the mystery of it. And he was suppressed. His house was broken into. The 3-letter agencies would come in and try and intimidate him and scare him. Did not do. He kept going, and he died having nothing to do with. There was even no no cancer, no anything in his blood system. They did blood work, everything. And he just died of natural cause in old age, whatever it was, but it was like a long, where's his thing? He died in 2008 and he was still trying to age 82, but he was trying to show people this is not scary, but it was they could make money by transporting and storing and having more regulations for any of the uranium fuel, the waste, quote, waste material. He said it wasn't waste material. It's water. It's hot water. That's what it does, which for fission, when it divides the nucleus, it creates 94% heat and 6% radiation, just a little tiny bit of radiation. And so most of it's heat. And Galen Winsor said it's like, one of the most expensive ways to heat water. It's the nuclear power plant.
The big steam stacks are just big showboats. They're just big vents for steam. It's a big steam plant. That's it. Tim, what do you think about page 40, Seversky?
Yep. Okay. There you go. Okay, this guy was awesome. He was a World War I hero for Russia, and then he came over and started flying for the United States for the Air Force. And his responsibility was to analyze the carpet bombing, fire bombing cities all over. I mean, Dresden also, it wasn't just Japan, it was St. Petersburg. And then he also looked at 66 of those Japanese cities. So he had already had a really good understanding of what the cities looked like. They were carpet bomb, fire bomb over all this time in Japan. So he was tasked with going to Hiroshima and he was pumped. He was excited. He couldn't wait to see what was different. He couldn't wait to see what is it going to look like, with the air burst and then when it goes out and then it's sucked back in and what's it going to, it should be different. And there should be a hypocenter and you'd think that the water with this supposed to be 10,000 times the heat of the sun. So you'd think that the water, the river that goes through would have evaporated or boiled or something. There'd be massive differences. He was so exciting. And he was excited and he looked and there is no difference. And for that amount of heat, there were still telephone poles. There was still wood. How could there be any wood left if it was a one-time, one and done, massive heat? The heat they were talking about, the pressure, the blast over pressure, the hurricane force winds. If there was something like they described and explained, this does not show that at all. None of the pictures. Here we go, Hiroshima and Nagasaki. They still look the same. Look at all the stuff that's left. The train tracks were still in really good working condition. You'd think
there was only one train closed. Yeah.
Oh yeah, and then one bridge out of 12 bridges were destroyed. Right. That was it. 12. I meant other bridges were working, but the train tracks. There was like I show our friend.
Yes.
Let me jump to him. Okay, so I practice his name.
I love this guy. He's my hero.
Yamaguchi.
Tomo Yamaguchi. Yeah.
And so he was in Hiroshima during that explosion. He was there, lost his hearing for a little bit, and then he see this, you two are so funny together. Then so he lost his hearing. He stayed in a shelter that night, and then like the next day or two, whatever, started getting back on his feet a little bit. Had a meeting. He had to go back to work in Nagasaki. So on the 6th, he was there for Hiroshima. On the 9th, he took a train, which means the trains were working, which is crazy 2 days later. Took a train, got to work on time. We're talking about the Japanese work ethic.
Japanese.
And then he was there on the 9th when Nagasaki was hit. But the big point of that poor guy.
He's either the most unlucky or luckiest dude you've ever heard of, depending on your perspective. Because it's like the people that get struck by and survive lightning strikes. Because after you get struck by one, you're more susceptible is what you come to find out, because the factor goes up like crazy. And so it's almost like, am I super lucky that I didn't die, or like am I cursed in some way,
So he didn't die of radiation poisoning. He did that with children, and there's so many stories about people who did not have the deformed babies. There was not a spike, which you would assume, all these things that I assumed and assumed because I expected and assumed it. I couldn't find any evidence for it. Even they started to hide these seismographs.
Yeah.
They couldn't find them, or there just was no reporting of. You'd think with something that big, some kind of an explosion, that there would be some seismic activity, especially when they tested it supposedly at the Nevada test site back in Los Alamos, wherever, all the testing that they've done supposedly that with seismograph evidence, and there wasn't any for Nagasaki. That was just another, it's not really proof, but it's just kind of interesting. And then the people had heard B-29 bombers flying over ahead of time. It wasn't like their response wasn't even a one and done. Their recollections wasn't one. So there were big explosions. There was a bright light. It could have been a photo bomb to give them that idea. So there was only one reporter who was allowed to give information in and out, who was not. He was the only one who was allowed to give information.
I'm sure if you're on the ground while all this is unfolding, if you're just being firebombed and you survive this, it's pretty difficult for you to decipher that versus a nuclear explosion because there has never been one before, so you have nothing to compare it to.
Right.
Absolutely. And this was part of the thing, is that they flew B-29s over and dropped napalm on people, which sticks to skin. It's a disgusting thing. It's gasoline that they light on fire and mixed with a thickener that then just adheres to everything. Kids, like, it would burn skin, it burned homes. And again, this carpet bombing cannot be understated. And so it was a multitude of things. It was a multitude of pageantry that added up to the story that they were trying to tell, but it still didn't work. The city was immediately habitable. The two different bombs, there was uranium rather, sprinkled around, and you can't have that because or plutonium, right? Plutonium only occurs when there's a moderator in nuclear reactions because it's slowed down. And we can go over the science because she has a great breakdown in a golf ball analogy about hitting it at a hole 10,000 miles an hour and expecting it to go in. You can't. You've got to slow it down. You got to get to the green. You got to putt it in, which entails a moderator to be able to do that.
And they keep saying, well, we'll just add more golf cups, add more holes, add more golf balls. Doesn't at that speed, even if you're not putting, you're driving. I mean, you're not, if you drive on the putting green, you're not going to get the ball into the hole. So even if you add cups, even if you add balls, you know, who cares if you're going 20,000 kilometers per second, it has to be slowed down 10,000 times to 2,000 kilometers per second for it to be absorbed in the nucleus for a potential for fission is division. It's just like, remember like mitosis when you learned that in school, when the water would separate, and you'd see you go into two water droplets. You'd see that. That's all it is. Fission is just the division of the atom, and it just releases heat and a little bit of radiation. So, and then it releases the fast neutrons, but they have to be slowed down. It has to be shielded. It has to be moderated. It has to be controlled. And so in a nuclear weapon, you don't have the control, the shielding, the moderation. You can't slow it down. It takes too long in a nuclear power facility. You have the time and you can slow it down. You can cool it down. You have control, you have shielding, so you can bounce it off to try and hit more of the uranium atoms, so the more of the nucleus. So you have more, and it takes hours, it takes a long time to slow these down. In a nuclear weapon, you wouldn't have that time. So there are just so many. He was talking about the plutonium. It is a byproduct of the uranium-238.
So they were planting this plutonium to perpetuate the myth along the site.
Thing is, the plutonium. The math doesn't math. It was a little boy in Hiroshima on August 6th was a uranium bomb, and so you should be.
Do you want to pull that graphic up? Where's the side-by-side you have of the two bombs? That's great because it shows the differences and reads it out.
A bunch of slides. Here it is. I cut out a bunch of slides to try and make it easier.
There you go. Yeah, look at that.
So little boy on the left, it was uranium, solid uranium fuel, solid. You can't have an explosion. You need rapid expansion of gas pressure for an explosion. There's no gas in a solid uranium fuel bomb. So it can't explode. I mean, there's so many reasons that this can't happen.
Imagine smashing two bullets together. That's the equivalent. It doesn't explode.
Or two quarters, just metal, just pass, they're not going to cause an explosion.
Right.
So what exactly is this image showing us? Can you explain it for the audio audience?
Are you seeing the comparison? So Hiroshima is on the left-hand side, little boy. And this is so gross. Chris, can I do this, Brandon? About the Enola Gay?
Yeah, no, go for it, because it is taken Enola Gay. Go for it.
It is. So you've got the Enola Gay was the plane. Everybody knows this, right? Oh, it was named after his mother, whatever, Tibbets or something, his mother. So you've got a little boy and fat man and Enola Gay. So it's all the pedo stuff right in our face for so long. And just to make that connection is so nauseating And it's just, everyone recites it. Oh, which one? Little boy, fat man. I mean, everyone says it and they don't think about what it's actually.
For those that aren't
implicating.
familiar, these are the names of the different versions of the nuclear bomb supposedly dropped, right?
Right.
Yeah.
Hiroshima, the first one on August 6th, and Nagasaki on August 9th, the second one. And that
Little
was
boy and fat man.
Little boy, fat man. Yeah.
Gross.
And one was implosion and one was explosion. One was a gun type. They were just showing supposedly the different. And here we're getting into the details of something that doesn't exist. It's just so stupid when you step back and go, God, this is horrible. This is just awful how they've done this mind control over everybody. And people argue about this and they defend it. It's like, oh, well, that was so many kilotons. This one was 15 kilotons. That one was 21.
And it's the NASA narrative too, with it being never tested and working perfectly the first time. So you have this with the moon landing allegedly as well. Oh, never tested, worked great the first time.
And this is funny. This is a friend, Sovereign Soul Unchained Mind. This guy Sav, David, is incredible. And he comes up with these hilarious, I call them Savisms, and they're in the book too. And he says if you've got 2 pink flying unicorns plus 3 pink flying unicorns, you get 5 pink flying unicorns. Okay, the 2 plus 3 is 5. That makes sense. But that doesn't mean that they're pink flying unicorns, So it's like the math can math, but it doesn't prove that all those equations and math product and everything that they're accurate. It doesn't. Yeah, you still, yeah.
Oh, let's do the shadows. Yes. Okay, Chris, first of all, what do you know about nuclear shadows, Chris?
All right. So supposedly the amount of heat and energy from the blast is enough to fuse your own shadow to a wall or a surface or the ground, according to our mainstream narratives.
What do you think about that? Just from an outside
I think that's ridiculous, but that's me.
That's just me over here.
That's just me.
As you look at the picture she's got here, an audio-only audience, highly recommend checking this out. You can also check out the link down there that reads Hacking Hoaxes. I know Chris is going to include it. And that has got actually every page of the book, which is, from a publishing perspective, is probably not a good idea. But either way, she released every single page of the book.
It's out there. Yeah, I want the information out there.
You can follow along. And this is going to be page, what is this, 28. If you're following along at home there, flip on over to page 28 in your book. And
I'm looking at the shed now. Again, for those listening on the audio end, please come over to Rumble or YouTube to see the imagery here, because I can't help but chuckle at these shadows.
The old lady with the cane, dude. The first one with the cane, and she was just carrying a bag.
That's what that is. Oh, that's even better.
And then you got the ladder. And so what's great about this too is that it wasn't relegated just to biology, because you've got a wooden ladder that was there. You've got a toy truck. You even, in our favorite, I think Tam and I's favorite both, is that little girl skipping rope at the bottom left, where the rope and the little girl and her pigtails caught in mid bliss were vaporized and just removed from this earth. And then again, the kid with the little toy. Why would the toy be there? Why wouldn't any of the vehicles in front be there? Why would there? Do you see what I mean?
I'm getting like moon landing vibes again.
Yeah, there you go. And the joke we made on Chance's podcast, Interverse, was it looks like Banksy. It looks like his
shout out Chance.
Yeah, shout out Chance. And then if you don't want Tim, the other one with I love the wheels.
This cracks me up. So you've got the so we had all the black shadows, the wheels down here. So you've got the metal, and then you've got the metal shadow. But then you've got another metal wheel back here behind it with no shadow.
They missed one.
Just that one.
And then you've got like the white shadows. Some of them are black, some are white. I mean, it's just, I don't know. It's things that make you go,
It's silly. And remember, it was a coordinated effort of a few different things. It was the photo bomb, it was napalm, carpet bombing. So it was a few different disasters, and they were all horrific and atrocities that happened against those people, probably with the consent of their own people. And there's a whole political psychology that probably took place there. And
there was no internet. There was no way to communicate. Right. The people who were there had limited availability to get the information out anyway. They're like, oh, why we only heard the same information from this? Well, because you got one source, and then the people, and also they were afraid, with their government, and they were oppressed anyway, and with the, all that, they were hungry, and a lot of problems also, and a lot of people they keep saying about respiratory problems and stuff like that. A lot of people had problems beforehand, so people try and relate it to the supposed bombing and stuff like that. There was a girl, May, she was on Crow 777. Her mother and grandmother actually lived through this, and she explained everything that they had told her. And they had children. They didn't have the deformities. They didn't have the radiation sickness. They didn't, so just a lot of the stories that we heard, his story that we heard, doesn't seem to pan out from when people kind of get out, tell their own stories. They don't match, with what we were told. Led to believe.
Only in our theatrical realm, after the fires die out, send in the shadow painters.
Right?
Yeah.
Yeah, and just Seversky, who was there. Yeah, I remember he was looking, and people were taking him around and trying to show out anything that was different. And he didn't see any of those things. That would have been something you'd think people would point out because, oh, look at this anomaly. But he didn't see them. And then I think that by September they were gone, or something like that. So when people would come later, they weren't there anymore. So I think it was just a temporary.
And people were pissed that the Seversky didn't play up the damage and that he called it like he saw it. They were like, dude, you gotta no, this is awful, right? It's the worst thing you've ever seen. And he was like, dude, this is like being a gynecologist saying that you got a lady over here with 2 vaginas. It's something I've never seen. Very excited about it. I've seen all these other ladies with single vaginas. I get over there, guess what? She had 1 vagina. Okay, this is all I saw. And this is the thing. He was super pumped about an anomaly in his field, and it didn't happen. And so you can imagine the flaccidity of this guy. He was just like, man, come on. I was stoked about this.
He was.
Sammy,
And the backlash was awful. Yes.
You want to go over Mushroom Cloud 67?
Let's do that. Yes.
All right, kids, turn to 67 in your books here, and we'll go over why mushroom clouds don't happen with what they're saying.
Yeah, they can come from volcanic eruptions. On the bottom left is a volcanic eruption. They can come from conventional weapons, always have the mushroom clouds. You can also have wildfires, have mushroom clouds that look similar to me. It looks very similar. So I always thought when I was growing up, I just assimilated. What is it? I just every time I saw a mushroom cloud, I would think nuclear attack. We're all
along with the ridiculousness of the nuclear myth. I remember growing up in the 80s and they said, just get under your desk. You're protected from any kind of nuclear attack because you're under your desk there.
You're good. They're American-made desks, so that's how you know. And we go back to 66. I actually went too far, but on this page that you've got up here, Tam, that picture right there is wonderful because it reads right there, ascending cloud from Ribadu volcano from the eruption on the 21st of April, 1990. The mushroom-shaped plume rose from avalanches of hot debris. This is pyroclastic flows that crashed down to the Earth's north flank of the volcano. Okay, that's the image.
There's in Alaska. This is a real. Yep.
And then in the next one, we have a caption from a physics book utilizing the same exact image. Reading, mushroom clouds are formed by many sorts of large explosions under Earth's gravity, but they are best known for their appearance after nuclear detonations. And that's the point there. They want you to keep that in mind.
They're planting the seed, right? Here, yes, this could be from anything else, but it's also associated again and again, repetition, drill it in there.
If we're going to add things like that in, we need to add, or my Uncle Gary when he gets too drunk and farts in the fire, because like if there are other conditions in which this can happen, we need to remind everyone that they occur, not just this fake one that they want to push. Do you see like the psychology in this? When you see it, they didn't even mention the damn volcano that it came from in that physics book there. So that's a wonderful side by side. And I love Tam's personality. Look at the, I believe you emoji there going on. I love that.
That's great.
Sam, 66 explains why carbon is what burns and why you don't get that. Page 66 in why you don't get that with nuclear explosion because there's nothing.
Oh, I took the page numbers out.
Oh, they're at the bottom of the thing here.
Here we go. Is this the one with the carbon? Yeah, the carbon base.
There you go. This is great.
Carbon-based explosions. If it has not undergone a complete combustion, you'll have the black. If it's water-based explosion, the water droplets, it'll be a white smoke. And if it's the hydrogen gas or maybe yellow, they've got different color explanations for the smoke. But the black, anytime you see black, that's carbon-based. There is no carbon in uranium and uranium pellets. There is no expanding gas formation. There's no rapid expansion of gas from pellets. But getting back to finalize, though, the one that got me the most, I think, was the plutonium. They found plutonium radiation in Hiroshima, in the soil, which only comes from, like you said, the nuclear power plant facilities. It's only a byproduct in the facilities only. So they have to transport that, like you said, like Chris was saying, they'd have to disperse it like a radiological dispersal device, something like that, and they'd have to disperse it on the ground, which is another psyop, which is stupid. And it's not uranium because that was the fuel used for. So they'd have to match, but I think that was, for me, was the biggest one, the biggest, when I finally got it, when I finally understood that this is this is not right.
Now, you may be covering it, but what about supposed nuclear fallout from disasters over the years, Chernobyl, Fukushima, things of that nature?
Okay, Chernobyl's fun. They do tours. Okay, it's only been, how many, what was it, 38 years, something like that. They do tours inside where that elephant foot was and outside. And they say be careful of the wildlife, which means the wildlife is flourishing, which means the grass and the plants and everything for the wildlife to flourish is there. And they take you inside. And they say the only thing is that tripping hazards, don't wear sandals. I mean, that's what their concern is. And they said there's no chance of problem with radiation exposure, but this is supposed to be that 10,000 year half-life that they tell us about, right? For the radiation exposure, it's supposed to be, oh, so scary, you can't live there. And, or, some of the islands, they wouldn't let you go back. People had to move out. And I guess it was Bikini, but they told them to move out, move away. And then like, oh, the radiation's okay. Oh, no, it came back. It's bad. You can't live here. But yeah, the Fukushima and so Chernobyl was a 3 Mile Island was a meltdown, which is another good point, because when it did overheat, so there's subcritical, critical, and supercritical for nuclear, for the chain reactions, nuclear fission chain reactions. So if it's subcritical, there aren't enough. It's not, you don't have the shielding, you don't have the control, you don't have the fast neutrons are not slowed, moderated down to be able to be absorbed by the nucleus of the uranium atoms, the nucleus. So if there aren't enough neutrons, it's subcritical. If it's critical, boop, 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 it's going along perfectly, Goldilocks, right? It's just right, not too much, not too little, just right. And then the exponential chain reaction, self-sustaining, and that's what they use in the power plant. So that's how supposedly it works. And there's one guy who doesn't even think that that's real. So that was the Dr. Michael Palmer questioned that. So, I mean, then it's like, oh my gosh, even what I'm using for examples may not be good examples. So you have to question everything. But then the supercritical is when that's when you get that, it's a blue flash. It's not an explosion. So 3 Mile Island, it was a meltdown. So it released the heat, like I said, right? And then a little bit of radiation. But it was the heat that was the meltdown, which was not, it didn't go boom. And boys like things that go boom. I know that. Silly boys.
Really do.
Now, let me ask you, did your awareness of the nuclear deception lead to awareness of other deceptions in our reality, other understandings beyond what you believed while you were involved with the system?
At the time, I didn't. I was all in and I didn't know. Afterwards, it was my daughter. It was our daughter who woke us up. It was with the, our daughter woke us up. And she was the one, I guess it was Truth by Basia, and she started hearing stuff about flat Earth. So that's how I got into that. And then once that door's open, then it just everything just like falls out. And you're like, oh, it's all lies. It's all lies.
Yeah, and she's written, how many books do you have out now, Tim?
No, I have 6 on flat Earth, and then I've got one with Richard Lopez. We've done some children's books on the outer space. So if you've got, here's the inner Earth, whatever. If you have land outside, outer space, it'd be extra terra, and there'd be extraterrestrial, So that's what we just have a fun kids book, kind of getting some of the basics down for kids, and that's called Happus.
Incredible.
Yeah.
She's got one on the old world stuff too, like the World
Yeah.
Series.
Oh, we're gonna have to do that for sure.
Sean Hibbler did the quote for that. It was really cool. His wife is like one of my closest friends. Victoria Hibbler is just awesome. She's done so many. I don't know if this is okay to do this, but she's got so many books that she's done for children's books that she's done. And that's Sean Hibbler's wife. So just quick shout out to Victoria.
Yeah.
She did Happus too. She illustrated that, right?
Yeah, she illustrated everything inside of Happus, and they're gonna have a little Hiblet in a couple months. about 6 weeks.
Exciting. Congratulations. And it's
Yeah,
an exciting story
congratulations,
about the outer
Victoria.
lands. They meet all sorts of crazy, interesting creatures, have adventures of what's going on beyond the ice wall. And it's just really, really cool. And I might mention as well, all of Tam's books are written in poem. That's why they're called level plane poem. Not only does she take on the topic of nukes, but she makes it rhyme and makes it make sense while rhyming. So just what she's able to do is incredible. It really is.
That's amazing.
Do the underwater nuke 71?
Yes. Okay. Okay, this is interesting. This is there's a guy, Miles Mathis, and what I realized from all the authors that when I did it's like it's hard to get tons of months and months and months of research down to this, to an hour or so, but every single one of them had a fantastic sense of humor, a lot of sarcasm, because they get to the point where it's like, not only is this stupid, but this is like ridiculously, obnoxiously stupid. So he's just wonderful, Miles Mathis, when he brings a lot of this information. He's showing these are 3 different pictures of the supposed Baker underwater nuclear explosion, and every single one of them's different. He's got the copy and paste clouds here. We're supposed to have hurricane force winds, it's supposed to be a big blast overpressure, and this cloud doesn't move. So like you were saying, like the moon landing, all those kind of things.
It's a NASA trick, copy and paste clouds.
And yeah, hurricane force winds. It should have knocked everything over. But here you've got the beach. Oops, I'm blocking the beach front after Hurricane Abel on the bottom left. After Hurricane Abel, you've got not hurricane, the explosion, the test, Abel and Baker tests, underwater nuclear tests, and they look the same. So you'd think it's only 3 miles away. That whole beachfront should have been decimated. The
little
roofs
huts
should have been gone. The little tiny
little thatched roofs and all the wood and delicate shit, and it's fine.
Yes.
The more I think about how it's possible for them to pull off these high impact theatrical events, well, if they're in an isolated area or they're in one city where these disasters are extremely impactful event occurs, that's easy to cover the narrative for that area. But you think throughout history, all they have to do is Photoshop a few images, get the narrative out there, have every news outlet on board with repeating the same thing. Back in the day, it seemed pretty easy to get that propaganda to smoothly flow across the country. Now, with social media, it's probably become even easier, but we've entered a very interesting era where not only is the propaganda out there, but the truth is coming out too. So we've got dueling narratives right now.
And there's another thing: the water should have boiled. Those guys should have been skinned alive if it was real. So these things, I think they're way too close. The blast overpressure, you think would have just, knocked them off their keisters. It just would have been so much worse. And they say 100 million degrees Celsius.
This is my thing. How do you measure that? How do you measure that? Did you have a thermometer? And if you do, how does that thermometer go to 100 million degrees? And if that's so, how do you know it didn't stop there and it went beyond that? Because did you stop it at 100 million? Do you see how silly it is? And what would 100 million degrees do to the sea right there? Would just evaporate all that water, and then wouldn't you see that returned in clouds and see an uptick in rain somewhere because of the cloud shiftage from the evaporation of all that moisture so quickly? Even the physics narrative of it is silly. Right. And if you would, Tam, go to, if you don't mind, 71. It's a couple back. It's got you could see there the underwater tests right here. This is perfect.
Hardtack and swordfish, yes.
And I love this. This is 3 different tests. Okay, now if you look at 1946, which was the atomic bomb at Bikini Atoll, that's got a huge black mushroom cloud. Okay, which we know.
And we learned from that, yeah. So what we're thinking possibly is that there may have been like a sunken ship that still had some undetonated, some artillery or something like that that could have exploded, and that would cause a carbon-based black. Black.
Yeah, that. Oh, and then you think cloud, 1946, and then from there to 58, we've got the Operation Hardtack, and then in 62, you've got Swordfish. Now, with both of those, you got a pretty decent size fart wave, like you farted in the bathtub and it came up. But you don't have the mushroom cloud, which we all picture, that comes up when you fart in the bathtub. Now, the thing about that is that it's in 46, they needed that big old boom, didn't they? They needed that thing to go, man, look at that. We look at that there, boy. Now, and by 58, you didn't need it to be as spectacular. By 62, even less so. Look at that dinky little thing. Who gives a shit about it? The seed has been sown, and the epic destruction that it's capable of and how it's presented has been sown. And that's all you need. And then just the thought of them existing.
Then they moved them
all that
underground
matters.
testing, right? So there's
That's
no
right.
they don't have to deal with all the optics or
Yeah, they're
develop
optics. They don't have to show it off anymore. They don't have to pretend in public anymore. Now they can pretend underground, which is brilliant. And then if you want, because I know this is a timed thing, 118, Tam, because the biggest thing on this is if you look at where we are right now, I guess as a realm, I poked my head out of the hole a minute ago and saw that people saying war's going on or whatever. It's silly. So look at this. This is
which
Tam
one is 118?
all these screenshots. Oh, this is I think it was one before that, but that's fine. Yeah, two before that. There you go. I was speaking from the page of seeing both of them at once. Okay. So if you look at this, what do those look like? Those are big old rockets, and they have a shitload of these allegedly underground all over the place in these silos in Kansas, and we've seen Terminator. Now, what's fascinating about it is what do those kind of remind you of? If you just saw a rocket, didn't know that it launched off the ground, what could you relate that to in antiquity, perhaps, Chris?
A monolith of some sort.
Obelisk, yeah.
Like an obelisk or something,
Yeah.
which represents the phallic nature of Osiris, right? Now, if you think about it, these are digital representations of Osiris's penis. And they are phallic obelisks that they have planted at temple sites and grid points that they are calling underground nuclear facilities all over the place. And these are like little acupuncture points for the realm. And they are tapping into the energy with these things that it almost heralds as a hood ornament for their underground base. Now, if they're not making nuclear weapons under there, what are they doing? What are they seizing land for? What do they have in under all those underground facilities? What's going on there in all those highly restricted areas that you can't go about? You can't even picture or get satellite images of. It's so scary. It's national security. But if we break this wide open, what are they doing down there? You've got an interesting thing as well with the 120 there that you had.
Yeah, when you
there.
say that as a mom, I start getting into like the trafficking, human trafficking, the sex trafficking, the organ harvesting, all that. You know what? That's when I started thinking, well, if they're hiding the tunnels, you know, when I started hearing that, I was like, oh no. So okay.
This also ties into the disclosure aspect where you hear about the extraterrestrial UFO encounters that shut down the nuclear facilities. And that also adds to the nuclear narrative because if they're shutting them down, that means even the extraterrestrials are concerned about nukes.
Oh yeah, we got to protect us from ourselves.
Exceptional point. Because what are also the creatures, whatever they are, telling the abductees in most cases?
Yes. Take care of the Earth. We have to end the nuclear programs.
Yep.
Things like
and
that.
if you look at the farmers they're picking up in butt probing, they don't have any nukes. Last time I knew, Farmer John down the road from me is not the one in charge of the nuclear program. Why are you talking to him about it? The other thing allegedly is they got that technology from the aliens. So whose game are we playing here? You see what I mean?
Yes.
So are the UFOs even their technology that then goes through and shuts off sites that don't exist? And basically they just turn the lights off. And how did they do it? They called the guy on the inside. They had him flip the switch real quick and flip it back on. And
it's all just bad
There
theater.
it is.
And it gets worse and worse.
But do you see how maybe now you're less scared of some bitchy president pushing some button that can then eradicate the entire world for thousands of years on end? Like, I feel better about it. I don't think it's real at all.
Well, according to the shit talk from the global leaders involved in this current conflict, if nukes were real, they would have nuked the shit out of each other a long time ago.
Or one would have accidentally gone off in some dude's car or some underground bunker. Somebody would have sat on the button or playing with it drunk and would have set it off. You know what I mean? Like, there's so many human nature conditions to where the thought that the realm would allow something like this to exist is silly in my mind.
And
I don't know that we're capable of destroying ourselves, honestly.
I'll do this real quick, Brandon, but I sent you the slides, but there are just two times that this the demon core, it's a little they were trying to do the neutron testing in Los Alamos laboratory, and there were two deadly accidents, and they were accidents. It was preventable. So one guy was messing around. It was a tungsten carbide brick. He was trying to make a thing for it. He dropped the brick, closed it. So once it's closed, then you've got the opportunity for controlled, shielded, moderated. Then you've got a blue blast. One guy died, and his body blocked the security guard who was behind him. So the other guy didn't die, lived another 30 years. Then the second accident, and Fermi and Feynman told him quit screwing around, and he's in his cowboy boots and his just not the right protection, anything like that. They were just not protocol. And there was the other accident, and the first guy died. He got a lethal dose, and he got 10 gray of radiation. Sorry, my cat. And he died. And then the other people around him had nothing. They were not, they lived, the next closest one lived another 19 years and had family problems or whatever. So the only two actual deaths from radiation, and then that's what Crow 777 does, is Madame Curie, Marie Curie. I mean, she's like, is that live? And then the father, that symbol, her husband, Peter Curie, the symbol for Mercury with the flat head at the crossroads, supposedly got run over by a horse and carriage at the crossroads. I mean, it's just like, even Crow is just like, come on, it's even the stories are ridiculously stupid. So he's done a lot. He's done 4 episodes on this, which is, he just blows it. He's just awesome.
It's also bad storytelling and bad writing, for bad plot.
And
bad theater.
This is the point. If we can see it that way and we know that the world's a stage, do we still need to be scared of it? And this is one of the greatest things right here, the Samson option that Israel's talking about. And then you have Iran, nukes, and she's got that page there, that 120, where it shows that he's sitting there saying, oh, no, we're going to have nukes. And she's got timelines from 1995 to 96 to 2006 to 12 to 15, 2018, and 2025.
Iran
he's saying the same thing. Guys, be scared. We're minutes away.
Yeah.
Oh, 90%.
And supposedly, if we went in, 10 months ago or something, we went in and took out all of Iran's nuclear facilities. I mean, why are we going back in again? If we took them, I mean, it just makes you question so much more. And the Samson option, I laugh at that now. They're like, they're going to take out everybody else. Like,
ultimately, it just makes it easier not to pay attention and focus on bigger and better.
There you go. This is the whole point of it, Chris. If the movie sucks, where are we watching it?
That's it.
If you don't mind, just one more back, and you can see this idea of this proliferation of Iran, and she has an Iran-Israel breakdown right there, and it's brilliant. Iran has signed the non-proliferation treaty, and Israel's not, whatever that word is. Iran submits to regular inspections from the IAEA.
Israel wouldn't,
Israel would never. Fuck out of here. 0 nuclear weapons for Iran, 75 to 400 that they boast about.
Supposedly, right?
Right, supposedly, allegedly. And then Iran has initiated 0 attacks on countries in the past 50 years. Israel has attacked Lebanon, Syria, Egypt, Jordan, Yemen, Iraq, Palestine, and Iraq.
And this is just in the last 50 years, and they were saying Iran hadn't attacked in 250 years. So, but I was doing a good comparison. So Israel, they said in the last 50 years, these are all the cities, and I think it's more since then. This was written like last.
But who is the demon in the news right now? The one that's the least threat on paper.
Of course, right? Iran. Yeah.
And this is what's funny is then if that's the case, then what's the backing with Israel all about? And that's where you ask if the policies that are being put forward right now by the American, whatever they call themselves, the elite or whatever, which I did not, then is it pro-American or is it pro-Israel? And it's an interesting question to ask. Is us going into Iran pro-American? That's a good question. And this is great right here.
And this is fun. Yeah, there's another Dr. Michael Palmer who wrote one of the other, wrote one of the other books. There are so many books that I did the research and stuff.
Duck and cover propaganda. That's what I was talking about.
Exactly.
Is that you under the desk? I
was involved with this propaganda. Yes. And I remember back then, like, this is not, I'm going to die if bomb hits.
You're looking at the gum and the desk going, huh? Is this really how I go? Yeah.
Yes. Anyone out there from the 80s and 90s remember the hide under your desk during a nuclear attack propaganda? Good
And
times.
they show the little dynamite stick, just a little bang, like Brandon was saying.
It's back to the 1946 explosion of what they actually used rather than what they said they were using. Because TNT will give you a mushroom cloud. It will, enough of it. You pile it up on a boat out there. Hell yeah. And in 1946, maybe that was enough. But here's Tam's
nuclear
biggest point
family.
All in the mind, gang.
Is that what they're attacking? Is the nuclear family, right? Is that what the real nuclear war is?
Yeah.
As I said, traditionally, educationally, agriculturally, financially, morally, ethically, and spiritually, just decimating the nuclear family. But that was it.
I love this. This is such essential information for uncovering this. theatrical nonsense that gets people so riled up. There's so many people, unfortunately, still walking around with war boners because of the propaganda that they see every day, and they're rooting to go and bomb the brown people when they have no idea that their entire lives they've been steered in this direction by the media, by the entertainment industry, by propaganda, by nuclear weapons, by the threat of nuclear weapons, by war, by all the bullshit. So thank you for this. This is amazing. Is there anything else that we didn't go over that you'd like to leave the audience with?
Just, I'm going to add religion to that too, because a lot of Christians are super
Yes.
pumped about a war in the Middle East. They feel this is going to bring about the second coming of Jesus. And if you guys would like to head over to mysteriousuniverse.org, you can see a 2-episode breakdown on something called Caesar's Messiah, which a scholar named Joseph Atwell figured out, that really the entire book is made up to create pacifism. So even the, yes, let's go bomb the brown people, from the people who have no fucking clue what they're talking about, are rallied behind a concept of which they have no fucking clue they're talking about. And this is the interesting idea, is if they're pushing war, I mean, they're pushing it for everybody. Is this where you want to be when Jesus comes back? You're sitting here saying, let's bomb the war so that, oh, you were on board with that, huh? And it's this interesting initiation of Armageddon that most of these Christians are very, very interested in. So that's why it's got so much support. And that's also why it's in the narrative, because that region, that, I mean, you've got Persia, ancient Persia, which is now Iraq, all that region right there is very important strategically for a lot of reasonings: human trafficking of all kinds, and it needs to be controlled. And if it's controlled by who has it now, the others are missing out on the big payoff with that, energetically, financially, all the things. And so it's huge that the narrative continue. But once you release it, and like you said, Chris, you do something else, man, you get out from under the desk and you get Tam's books and you realize that you don't have to be scared, then that deflates it, doesn't it? And now we don't have to listen to those turds anymore. And they'll just take their nuclear football snacks and go home.
Yeah, what they're doing is a long game that has been in the works for a very long time, but it only works if we're complacent, if we participate and pay attention to what they're trying to feed us. If we check out of it, there's no energy being fed into that apocalyptic system that they're trying to roll out right now. This is our chance. We can check out and it can fail.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, it's failed here. I mean, because it's an
failed here.
Thing.
Yeah.
And, you know, the interesting too is the psychics that were starting to say that they couldn't see past a certain point, 2027, I think 2030 was usually about the average. A lot of those psychics are now kind of changing their mind and saying, you know what, the veil's lifted a little bit. I'm seeing alternative futures. So I feel a big shift, and I feel that the game is just now getting interesting, but it's also never required your discernment to be sharp as shit more. And that's the whole point. Choose your distractions wisely, gang. No, you know, have a reason to be scared of the things you're scared of, not just because somebody else told you should be.
Yeah, that was one of my favorite analogies, was the Wizard of Oz and the man behind the curtain. When Toto pulled the curtain back and you see this little wimpy guy doing his little knobs and buttons and doing the flames and everything like that, and you realize it's just, there's nothing, the emperor's got no clothes. There's just nothing there. There's no there.
Yep, your dick's out, and we see it. We see it, sir. Your dick is out, sir. Oh, it's ma'am. Okay, well, ma'am, your dick is out. All right.
No, you don't.
Well, Tam, this was great. I love this so much. You definitely have to come back on here. From what I understand, you cover so many of my favorite topics, so we will be doing this again for sure. Before we close out, remind the audience how they can find out more about you and get a hold of your books.
Oh, I'm on Instagram, and Level Plain Poem is the flat earth side. I'm trying to keep the hacking hoaxes separate. So on Instagram, Hacking Hoaxes has all the nuclear weapon stuff, and we're going to start getting into all the, I don't know if you want to explain it, Brandon, but I'm going to do a book called Going Postal. And Brandon and I are working on this. It's going to be with his Redigital Publishing, and it's going to be a book exposing all of another side of
fuckery,
the psyop.
Yep. Right on. And Brandon, Mysterious Universe, Redigital Publishing.
There you go. Redigital Publishing on Instagram, I guess, if you guys want to check that out. But really, just go check out the books. They're where it's at. Honestly, we don't have a social media thing going on right now because social media is horseshit. But we are producing shit, which is great. So The Eternal Avatar by Philip Kinsella, Chris John May is forward by Joshua Cutchin, the legendary. And then, of course, Girls in the Demon's Deal, which you've talked to Eric, and he's a delight and hilarious and adorable, and he worked his ass off on that. So check those out. And then, mysteriousuniverse.org, guys, go check it out. We're doing some banger shit. We did cover a 2-episode breakdown called The New Clear Perspective on the show there about Tam's work specifically. That's what all these tabs were from. It's my research for that. And it's just an awesome, awesome thing. So thank you so much, Chris, as always. Thank you, Chris's audience. I love y'all, your family, and we love you guys. Thank y'all.
We love you. Tam, Brandon, be doing it again. Until next time, everyone, have an excellent evening. Talk again tomorrow. Hello, friends. I am so excited to tell you about Independent Media Token. Independent Media Token is a brand new way to show your support for independent media without having to donate a dime. Independent Media Token is a cryptocurrency on the Solana blockchain designed to generate funds to promote and foster the growth of independent content creators, allowing them to engage in their art without having to worry about being demonetized. Through a network of media partners, of which you yourself can become a part of, Independent Media Token's goal is to ensure the powers that be can never cut off all of our areas of funding and censor the only free voices left in the world. Join the movement today. You can pick up Independent Media Token using Phantom Wallet or the Solana wallet of your choice, where you can easily swap your Solana for IMT. Grab some IMT today and remember to always know your team. To learn more, visit independentmediatoken.com or use the link right in the description. Are you and your family prepared for an emergency? Maybe the fake alien invasion? Now is the time to prepare yourself and your family for any event. Check out Prep Starts Now. Their mission is to provide high-quality preparedness products that empower individuals and families to be ready for any situation. They're committed to delivering reliable, trusted gear to ensure your safety, security, and peace of mind in times of need. Their product selection is carefully curated to provide you with the essential gear you need to stay prepared. From emergency kits to tactical tools, every item is chosen for its reliability and practicality. Prep Starts Now understands the importance of family, and their goal is to equip you with everything you need to build a solid plan for your family's preparedness. In today's ever-changing world, being prepared is more important than ever, and Prep Starts Now is here to help you and your family stay ready with quality products and practical guidance. Use the link in the description and get 15% off your order. Watch Doors of Perception now on Amazon Prime. We live in an incredible age of information. More and more, we're discovering that we've been lied to and misled about much of our human history. Cory Hughes is providing profound revelations about World War I, World War II, the JFK assassination, Martin Luther King's assassination, and much, much more on his new Substack, Bloody History. Subscribe now for as little as $5 monthly. Just click that link right in the description to get started now and learn about our true history.